Iti piso bhagava arahant samma sambuddho vijjacarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarathi sattadeva manusana buddho bhagavati buddham yavajivitam variyantam saranam gacchami echa buddha atita cha echa buddha anagata vachupanna cha e buddha aham vandami sabbada nati me saranam ayyam buddho me saranam varam etena sacca vajena otu me jaya mangalam uttamangena vandeham adapansu varuttamam buddheyo parito doso buddho kamatu tammamam yankinchi ratanam loke vichati vividhakutu ratanam buddha samanatti tasma soti bhavantu me yo sannisinno varabodhi mule maram saselam manti vijetva sambodhi magachi anantayano lokotamo pranamani buddham.
Have you ever noticed how some people just light up a room
On the night of the 14th waxing moon of the 6th lunar month, as dawn was approaching and the Bodhisattva close to waking, 5 auspicious signs appeared in his dreams. Which he interpreted as follows. 1. He would achieve enlightenment as the Buddha. 2. He would declare the true Dhamma for the benefit of all humans and deities. 3. A great number of people would come to train under him, thus establishing the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. 4. People of all castes and classes after training under him would come to understand the same pure Dhamma. 5. People from all over the world would bring offerings to him to express their faith and trust, but his heart would remain unstained by even the slightest attachment to such wealth. In the village of Uruvela Senanigama, there lived a wealthy man's daughter named Sujata. When she was young, she made a vow to the deity abiding in the banyan tree close by, so that she might have a husband of equal wealth and birth, and that her first child might be a son. Once her wishes had been fulfilled, she prepared a rice dish, prepared with cow's milk and honey, as an offering to honor the tree deity.
Madam Suchada! Madam Suchada!
What's the matter, Puna? Why are you rushing in such an excited way?
It seems that the tree god has come to receive your offering. I saw him at the banyan tree over there with my own eyes. He's glowing with a beautiful halo all around him.
Ah, everyone, quickly, help! Puna, go and fetch a golden tray for the honeyed milk rice. We'll take it out to offer to the tree god. Quickly, go, go! All of my wishes have been so graciously granted. Please, may I offer this meal of honeyed milk rice and this golden tray to you?
I offer this prayer. If I am to succeed in realizing perfectly enlightened knowledge, may this golden tray float up the river against the current. But if I am not to achieve my goal, may this tray float downstream with the current.
I'm a Brahmin called Sautya, sir. I'm inspired with great faith at the sight of you. Please let me show my respect. May I offer you 8 handfuls of blade grass?
For as long as I have not yet attained to supreme enlightened knowledge, even if my blood and flesh should dry up with only skin, bone, and sinews remaining, I shall not rise from this seat.
At dusk, the Bodhisattva began to develop meditative insight, attaining to the first knowledge, Pubenivasa Nusatinyana, the ability to recollect his past lives. In the silence of the late night, he attained the second knowledge, Putu Papa Tanyana, knowledge of the passing away and rebirth of beings according to the results of their actions. Close to dawn, the Bodhisattva attained to the third knowledge, Asavakayanana, knowledge of the destruction of mental defilements, complete liberation and freedom from suffering. He thus came to be the fully self-awakened Buddha.
Craving, with you I've been born again and again, but now you are revealed, and your power redundant.
After the Bodhisattva had attained to the Dhamma and become the Buddha, he sat under the Maha Bodhi tree, enjoying the bliss of freedom for 7 days. Then he went and stood in the open, gazing back at the Maha Bodhi tree and recollecting its virtues. He stood there and gazed without blinking for 7 days. After that, the new Buddha walked back and forth between the Maha Bodhi tree and the place where he had stood.
Sisters Raka, Ardi, that's the recluse Gautama who attained the Dhamma.
That's right, Sister Tanha. That's him for sure. Our father, Lord Mara, together with all his troops, could not defeat this one and was humiliated. It's up to us to find a way to take revenge.
Tanha, Raka, in this world, I've never met a man whose heart could resist the 3 of us. We who embody infatuation and desire.
Ardi, you're right. We will use our femininity to ensnare the recluse Gautama in the bonds of sensuality and entangle him for countless time.
Oh, Prince. Oh, Prince. Prince. Ow.
Daughters of Mara, go back. There is no way you can succeed in what you are trying to do, for I have utterly destroyed all kinds of satisfaction and infatuation.
My name is Tanha, and this is Rakan Orchi. We're not here to tease or deceive you, but the truth is, we are quite taken with the sight of you.
Really and truly, sir, no one has ever made us feel so enamored as you. No one, sir.
That's right. The three of us offer our bodies and our hearts to your service, expecting no reward. Our wish is simply that you find satisfaction in us, even if only for a short time. That would make us so very happy.
I've told you already, I have utterly destroyed all kinds of satisfaction and infatuation. You will not find what you are looking for. There is nothing for you here. You should go away.
From this moment on, no one will ever again be able to wield power over the Samana Gautama, the enlightened one.
Silence is happiness for the one who has seen the Dhamma. Delight in the peace of seclusion, harmlessness to all beings, freedom from lust, and overcoming sensuality. These are the highest joys in the world. Eradication of conceit is the greatest happiness of all.
In the 7th week after his enlightenment, the Buddha sat and enjoyed the bliss of freedom under the tree called Rajayatana for another 7 days.
Your 2 humble servants bring baked and ground grain meal to offer. Please may the Lord Buddha accept our offering.
I lost my alms bowl before my enlightenment. When I accepted the honeyed milk rice from Sujata, I floated the golden tray off in the stream. Now these 2 merchants are offering me a meal.
We, Tapusa and Balika, declare ourselves to be lay Buddhists. We take refuge in the Buddha and the Dhamma for the rest of our lives.
Your 2 humble servants, Balika and Tapusa, would like to ask you for some object that we may keep, to honor and revere.
I have attained the Dhamma, which is profound and subtle. It is difficult for ordinary people to understand and practice. There are several kinds of people in this world. The quick-witted, upon hearing my teachings, know and understand them quickly, just like a lotus flower above the surface of the water that blossoms as soon as it receives the sun's rays. Those of moderate intelligence, having heard my teachings and then receiving some further explanation and training, are able to know and understand within a short time, just like a lotus flower, level with the surface of the water, ready to blossom the next day. The slow-witted, having heard the teachings, receiving further explanation and training, persevering with faith, are able to know and understand in the end, like a lotus flower below the water, which grows upwards before finally breaking through the surface and blossoming. The final kind of person, no matter how many times they hear the Dhamma, are unlikely to grasp the meaning or understand, although their listening may be a cause for realization in a future existence. This type may be compared to a lotus down in the muck and mire, falling prey to fish and turtles, not rising up and blossoming. This being the case, I'll preserve my life for the sake of spreading the Dhamma. I will teach humankind until the Dhamma becomes firmly established and widespread for the benefit and happiness of all for a long time. It's a pity that Alara the hermit passed away 7 days ago, and Udaka the hermit passed away just yesterday. If Alara Galama could have lived for another 7 days, and Udaka Ramaputta just one more day, they would both have surely attained enlightenment.
The Buddha had known through superhuman knowledge of the passing away of Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramaputta. Then he remembered the Pankavagiya, the 5 monks who had attended him while he was practicing extreme asceticism. Each of the 5 had well-developed faculties. If they could hear the teaching, they would surely soon attain to the Dhamma.
Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho. Vichārana sampāno sukhamuto pavito. Vayotaro purisa dhamma sarati. Tata eva manusaya. Buddho bhagavati. Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. Ujjopatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. Nyāyapatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. Samīcipatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. Cattari purisa yukani apatisa purana. Esa bhagavato sāvaka sangho. Apuneyo dakineyo antarikaraneyo. Anuttaram punyakirtam lokasati. Vandami tetiyam sabang sabatane supatititam. Saririkadam mahabodhi bhujarupam sakalam sadam. Yasamule nisino vasapari vijayam nata. Ato sapanyutam sata manditam bodhipadava. Imete mahabodhi lokanatena pujita. Aham pite namasami bodhi raja namah. all. Sukho Buddhanam Upado. Happy is the birth of all Buddhas. Vesak commemorates the birth, the enlightenment, and the great passing away or Mahaparinibbana of the Buddha. These three events are of great significance to our lives because they show us a way how to live a peaceful, harmonious way of life, and also show us the path, the way how we can overcome all sufferings, putting an end to the samsaric cycle of birth and death. In other words, to put an end to this cycle of birth, old age, sickness, and death. The birth of the Buddha, Buddha was born as a human, but his birth, the circumstances around his birth, was not an ordinary one. Before he was born, he was dwelling in the celestial realm in Tusita heaven. And just before he took birth in the human realm, he considered 5 things. First, he considered the time, whether it was a proper time. And that was the era, the 6th century BC, was the era when Confucius and Lao Tzu was teaching in the Far East. And in the Middle East, there was the prophet Isaiah. And in India, there were great Upanishadic thinkers. So that was an era of spiritual awakening. Buddha chose to be born at that time, that era. He also chose the country, the place, the country, and then he chose the clan, the family, and the mother. Ordinary human beings are not able to do these things. This is the result of the great cultivation of the Buddha from life to life. His birth is also a culmination, the culmination of the perfection of great virtues. Namely, there are the 10 perfections. The perfections of dana or generosity, sila, morality or restraint of speech and body actions, nekkhamma, renunciation, then khanti, patience, endurance, virya, energy, effort, satya, truthfulness, metta, loving kindness, wisdom, and equanimity. These perfections, Buddha practiced this from life to life, from life to life. And upon perfection, that's how he was born in amidst luxury, born to a ruling class as Prince Siddhartha. He had everything which the material world could offer. Yet he had the wisdom to see the fleeting nature of sensual pleasures. and then gave him that to renounce, to make the great renunciation in search for the truth. The truth that we talk about refers to the knowledge how to put an end to old age, sickness, and death. Now, throughout his lifetime, Buddha used the perfection, the virtues which he perfected. Each time he encounters challenges, any challenge that he encountered, he makes use of the perfection of virtues. This is what is known nowadays as Satya-kriya, by the act of truth, never resorting to violence. In one instance, when his own cousin Devadatta, who was jealous of him, Devadatta wanted to have the power after the Buddha. He wanted the Buddha to appoint him second in command. But the Buddha did not do that. So he got angry with the Buddha and he plotted against the Buddha. And this is how, through his plot, a wild elephant, intoxicated elephant, came charging before the Buddha. And what did the Buddha do? Buddha, just by the act of truth, through his perfection of metta, loving kindness, Buddha raised his hand and just gave metta to that intoxicated elephant that came charging before him. And with metta, as the Buddha radiated loving kindness, the elephant came before the Buddha and knelt down. Elephant kowtowed before the Buddha. This was how the Buddha used the act of virtues, act of truth, by the power of metta, loving kindness. And there was another event. And the event that happened just before his enlightenment, when he was challenged by Mara. Mara with his army came and challenged the Buddha and asked him what right has he got to sit there. And Buddha said that by virtue of that he has perfected virtues, whatever evil things to be avoided, he has avoided. And whatever good to be done, he has done. He has performed it. Then Mara asked the Buddha, where are your witnesses? By then, all the devas and all have run away. Buddha was left alone. What did the Buddha do? Buddha just put his hand and pointed down to the earth. And this is what you see in the mudra, Buddha image, you see where the Buddha put his hands pointing to the earth. That's called the Bhumi Sparsha Mudra. Buddha just pointed to the earth. It's just like let the earth bear witness. And at that point, the earth shook and water rose. And that's how Mara and his army was driven and was defeated. This is how the Buddha made use of his virtues, his great qualities, to overcome various challenges. Now, on the full moon day of the month of Vaishakha, after defeating Mara, Buddha, while seated on the Bodhi tree in Buddha Gaya, which is in the district of Bihar in northern India, As the Buddha was seated, his mind was so clear. Then three important knowledges arose in him. The first knowledge was about his past lives. He was able to see his past life, his previous life, very clearly. At first, he saw the immediate past life. Before he was born in the heavenly realms, in Tusita heaven, as Setaketu, he was born as a prince, Vesantara. So like that, then he recalled the previous one. 2, 3, 4, 5 past lives. And then from there, multiples of that. 10, 100, thousands, and so on. And the Buddha was able to see his past life as far as he focused his mind. Even this world cycle, in other world cycle, Buddha was able to see his past lives. So the tradition says that this knowledge that arose in him during the first watch of the night, and the first watch of the night is from about 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock. So you can understand, if you are watching a movie for 4 hours, you can see how much things can be seen. Then, during the second watch of the night, the Buddha saw how beings die and are reborn according to their actions, according to their karma. This is called Chutupapada Jnana. The first knowledge was called Ube Nivasa Nusati Jnana, the ability to recall past lives. So having seen his past lives and seen how beings die and are reborn, the Buddha saw the very different manifestations of suffering. Then came the third knowledge. And the third knowledge, the Buddha saw very clearly how suffering arises and how suffering ceases. And this knowledge has been passed down to us in the form of a formula. It is paticca samuppada, or dependent origination. Or sometimes it is a dependent co-origination. Why? Because the principle is this: what Buddha saw, dependent origination, where there is ignorance with condition, sankharas, that means a lot of thoughts. Where there's ignorance, avijja, there's sankhara. And where's the sankhara? When we have lots of thoughts, then these thoughts also cloud our mind. So we become more ignorant. So avijja, pacha, sankhara. Sankhara, pacha, also that. So this is what co-dependent origination. Then the Buddha saw, so paticca samuppada, or dependent origination, explains how suffering arises and how suffering ceases. So when the Buddha taught in the first sermon, Dhamma Takka Pavatana Sutta, Buddha simplified this teaching into the Four Noble Truths. And what are the Four Noble Truths? Because in these teachings of the Four Noble Truths lies the universal peace message of Buddha. Because the Four Noble Truths has universal application. Now first, although many people, all of you, perhaps all of you would have heard about these Four Noble Truths. But the first truth the definition of the first truth is something that many people cannot fully understand. The first truth is called dukkha. In English, we use the word suffering or unsatisfactoriness, but it doesn't exactly convey the idea of what dukkha is really about. So if we go to the text in the Dhamma Sutta, in the first sermon, how the Buddha defined dukkha. This is how the Buddha defined dukkha. Buddha said, Jatipi dukkham, jarapi dukkham, vyadipi dukkho, maranampi dukkham. First, the Buddha explained suffering or unsatisfactoriness at the physical level. That means the pain, the suffering that you experience with your body at a physical level. Jati, birth, the pain that a mother goes through during childbirth. Then, Jara, the process of decay and aging. Vyadi, sickness. Marana, death. Now, this is something that ordinary people can understand. You all can understand this as suffering. Then the Buddha goes on to explain beyond the physical suffering at the mental level. And Buddha said, Apyehi sampayoga dukkho, pyehi vipayoga dukkho. Apyehi sampayoga, people whom you don't like, conditions that are not pleasant, but you still have to associate, and that is not satisfactory, that is suffering. On the other hand, pyehi vipayoga dukkha, people whom you love, conditions that are very pleasant to you, you have to be separated from them. That is also dukkha. Then the third one is yampi chamna labati tangpi dukkham. That which you desire, you crave for, and you cannot get. Unfulfilled desires. This is also a source of suffering. So these three things, association with unpleasant people or unpleasant conditions, separation from loved ones or pleasant conditions, unfulfilled desires. These are sufferings at the mental level. And then, this is also something that everyone can understand, because we all go through these forms of unsatisfactoriness in our lives. Then the Buddha explained the more profound meaning of the word dukkha. And this is something which ordinary men and women in the street cannot understand. Buddha said, Sankitna panchupadana khanda dukkha. Sankitena panchupadana khanda dukkha. Buddha said, in short, in summary, I say, Pancha upadana khanda dukkha. These are compounded words. Pancha means five. Upadana means grasping. Khanda refers to the aggregates. So the five grasping aggregates are dukkha. Now, what are these five grasping aggregates? These five grasping aggregates refer to the aggregate of form, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. Form, body, not only this body, whatever that appears when the eye sees visual objects, the ear hears sound, They are all rupa, they are physical processes. So in the same manner, there is rupa. Then Vedana. Vedana is our feelings of sensation. Pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, sometimes neither pleasant or unpleasant. Then we have sanya, perception. Our ability to recognize things. And as a result of which, we also have memory, sanya. Then sankhara. Sankhara refers to our thoughts, mental formations. We create all sorts of thoughts in our mind, our imaginations. And the next thing we have is consciousness. We have that awareness, something that appears before us, we become aware of, we are conscious of. So, these 5 things: form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. This is what the Buddha, through the laboratory of his enlightened mind, the Buddha analyzed and saw through what we call the self, what we refer to as this self. Buddha analyzed this into these 5 things. And then the Buddha said, Sankitena Panchupana Khanda Dukkha, the 5 grasping aggregates of dukkha. So, where there is grasping to what? Grasping to these aggregates. And what are these aggregates? Form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. And what is the characteristic of them? They are all subject to change. They are impermanent and they are all in a state of flux. This body, when you look at the body itself, yourself, you don't seem to notice change. But every day, there are trillions of cells that die, and there are new cells replenished. So we are not able to see this process until we slow down our mind and go beyond our sensory perception. So our feeling is constantly changing. Then our mind, state of mind, change. One moment we say yes, next moment we say no. Total change. So everything, all these 5 things. So when there's a grasping, when grasp onto something that is constantly changing, that is suffering. That is what is meant by the 5 grasping aggregates. Now, this idea of the self, it is through this, it is a notion of the self. When we talk about I, my, me, mine, we are referring to this self. And we have a belief that there is something that is permanent, something that is non-changing. And this illusion, this notion, this false notion of self will give rise to the idea, the ego. The feeling of I, my, me, mine. And this is the cause, the root cause of all human problems. Now, we live in a conventional world. And in the conventional world, we still have to use these words, I, my, me, and mine. But the reality is something else. And that is why those who are able to get into connect with Dharma, then they begin to see there is a conventional words and there's also another aspect of it, the reality. The reality is something else. So this teaching, and this is something, the 5 kids, something that we can realize for ourselves through the teachings on mindfulness. Of course, when we talk about mindfulness today, it is so widely known, but people are referring mindfulness just to one aspect. It's for relaxation or something for stress control, management, and so on. But mindfulness, what the Buddha taught in this Mahasatipatthana Sutta, there are 4 foundations: mindfulness on body, mindfulness on feelings, mindfulness on mind, and mindfulness on Dharma. Now, this is how mindfulness, as we develop mindfulness on the body, many people think mindfulness is just breathing in and breathing out. That mindfulness of breathing in and out is just one aspect of mindfulness on the body. But as we develop, there are 5 other aspects. There are 6 aspects of mindfulness on the body. As you turn your attention to develop mindfulness on the body, naturally you become aware of your feelings. Then your feelings will begin to fade away. As you observe your feelings, mindful of feelings, then you become aware of your mind, your state of mind. And when you look at your mind, when you turn your attention just at your mind, you don't see anything, but you have that perfect awareness is there. And all other things, the thoughts that arises, they are all advantageous. So this is where the understanding of the true nature of mind is so important. When you understand true nature of the mind, you watch everything that arises, your thoughts, your memories, whether good memories, bad memories. To all the venerable members of the Sangha and all brothers and sisters in the Dharma. Today I have been requested to speak to you all about the usefulness of meditation in this time of the corona crisis. But before I talk, I would first of all like to rejoice with all our Dhamma brothers and sisters in India and all the Sangha members and organizers of the global Buddhist congregation that took place last year, in November last year, at the Lokuttara Mahavihara Bhikkhu Training Center in Aurangabad, Maharashtra. I truly rejoice with the efforts that you have put in to bring so many Sangha members from various parts of the world at a time when the world today needs Buddha Dharma in India as well as throughout the whole world. I hope you will continue to maintain this spiritual connection, this spiritual network for the welfare and happiness of the many. Let us now pay our homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sukho buddhanam upado. Happy is the birth of all Buddhas. Buddha is the embodiment of great wisdom and compassion. And these two great qualities, the foundation lies in the cultivation of metta and mindfulness. Metta and mindfulness are very important during this period of crisis, because especially during this lockdown, when people have to live in their own homes, some have to work from home, and there's so much of other activities going on in the home. And because of the fear and worries that people have for one another, especially for their loved ones, so when you're living at home, there are so many do's and don'ts that you should not do this, not do that. You should do this, you should do this, you should do that. So if there are children and there are stubborn adults, then you need a lot of patience, tolerance, and understanding in order to maintain the peace, the harmony at home. Metta, loving kindness, is the antidote for anger. So during this time, every time you get upset with something that goes around you, you must be mindful of your state of mind, and just tell yourself, remind yourself, metta, metta. Be free from anger, free from anger. Or just tell, beware, beware, be happy. So with this kind of practice, it will help you, and especially to be mindful of your thoughts, your speech, and body action, so that you don't transgress the precepts, and to try to maintain right thoughts, right speech, right body action throughout the day. Of course, when we talk about the benefits or the usefulness of meditation during this period of crisis, there are different levels, because those who already have some foundation of Dharma, then they can take this opportunity to bring to another level. So what I'm going to talk to you about is actually how you can make good use of this opportunity during this lockdown period, where you have more time at home or in your vihara, where you can spend longer time to sit, to cultivate mindfulness. This third meditation, mindfulness on your breathing, breathing in and breathing out, and metta, loving kindness. These two forms of meditations are very useful during this period. Those of you who are able to sit mindfully, cultivating mindfulness and breathing in and out, if you can sit, first of all, 15 minutes, half an hour, and if you can sit for half an hour to 45 minutes without too much of distraction in your mind, there may be a few thoughts, but if you are able to maintain your mindfulness and breathing in and out for half an hour to 45 minutes, then you will begin to experience a deeper sense of calmness and quietness of mind. And then you will have greater clarity. Now, when you experience this, and usually when people are able to sit for half hour, 45 minutes, all the pains and aches will be gone. The pains and aches in their legs, in various parts of the body, all that unpleasant sensation will ease off. And their mind will become clearer and they feel lighter. Now this is when the mind begins to enter into samadhi. According to what the Buddha taught in the Noble Eightfold Path, Samma Samadhi refers to right concentration. And how this right concentration is defined in terms of Patama, Dutiya, Tatiya, Jhana. Patama, Dutiya, Tatiya, Chatutta Jhana. First, second, third, and fourth jhana. So these four jhanas referred to as perfect concentration or right concentration. Now, what are these jhanas? They are meditative states of mind or mental absorption. The first jhana, when we talk of first jhana, there are 5 jhana factors: Vitakka, Vichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekaggata. When we tell you to bring your attention to your breath, this is Vitakka, this is applied thought. And then you sustain your attention there for a longer period of time. That is sustained thought, Vichara. And you keep your attention in one area. When your attention moves away, you return your attention again. That's how you develop ekaggata, one-pointedness of mind. In the beginning, don't try to fix one dot, one point. Just allow it naturally to happen so that you don't get too much stress. Then, when these 3 factors are present, vitakka, vichara, ekaggata, applied thought, sustained thought, and one-pointedness, then piti sukham will arise. Piti sukham. The term piti is translated in English as rapture. But at the early stages, piti, we experience a sense of satisfactoriness. And you feel the lightness. Sometimes you feel your body begin to expand. And a very common sensation, like ticklish sensation in your face, different parts of the body. And sometimes tears may fall, and your body begin to sway a little bit. But you don't cling on to these movements, then your mind will develop further. Now, there are scientific evidence as one meditates and gets into this state of mind. This is what they talk about getting into the alpha state. And when the first jhana, you actually feel that kind of lightness. And the characteristic of this is your body will become very upright and you don't feel like getting up. Now, after you are able, when you are able, the joy, there will be some joy, some satisfactoriness in this practice. Of course, in order to systematically develop the jhanas, some guidance is important. Otherwise, there are so many meditators, so many practitioners, they get caught into their own samadhi. Sometimes they get into calmness, they fix their mind, and they do not know what's happening. That's not right samadhi. That's not right concentration. Right concentration is the ability to become aware of the development that takes place within as you progress in your meditation. So, once you're able to recognize these jhana factors, the first jhanas, then you will find you train your mind to go in and out of the first jhanas. Some masters will tell you to sit for 1 hour, 2 hours, but there are also other masters that will tell you you don't have to spend so much time, spend 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes and train your minds to go in and out of the first jhana until you're able to recognize this jhana practice. After that, you progress. Systematically, you progress to the second jhana. In the second jhana, you will find piti sukha, the vitaka vichara, the applied thought and sustained thought will fade away. And you only experience piti sukham ekagata. In other words, you may not be able, the breath becomes very fine and subtle, and you let go of it. Then you experience a stronger sense of piety, joy, and satisfaction, and also sense of bliss that you experience. Now from here, from the second jhana, then you develop your third. In the third jhana, the piety will fade away and you only experience sukham ekagata, where you will feel a sense of ease. Sukham is translated in English as happiness or bliss. But at the experiential level, what you experience is a sense of ease. Kaya sukham, chitta sukham. Kaya sukham is the ease that you experience. All the tensions that develop in your body will begin to ease off. Then, chitta sukham, your mind, the restless mind, many thoughts, all that begin to ease off. So you have very, very little thoughts and eventually no more thoughts. And training your mind that way, as you bring your mind up and down, then you begin to recognize these factors, jhana factors. So from the second jhana, as you move on to the third jhana, you find that the pleasant sensation, the very subtle pleasant sensation, sukham, will also fade off. Piti sukham will fade off. And eventually, in the fourth jhana, you only experience ekagata. Your mind is just focused, one pointer, and you experience a sense of equilibrium. Now, with this state of mind, as you train your mind, first, second, third, fourth jhana, what happened? The function of these jhanas is this. The first and second jhana, we are able to have the breakthrough, that unpleasant feeling. We overcome unpleasant feeling. But when you get into the second jhana, you experience very pleasant feeling. And there is a tendency to cling on to this pleasant sensation. And that is why we need to develop the third and the fourth absorption jhanas. Because in the third jhana, the pleasant sensation will fade away, and by the time you reach the fourth jhana, you train your mind to arises, cause ceases, effect ceases. So that is how we will see everything just rising, falling. That is how we develop the experiential knowledge of anicca. So all the conceptual knowledge through mindfulness, through this kind of training, samatha vipassana training will help us to have this experiential knowledge of impermanence, anicca. It is at this point that when one experiences anicca, then naturally bliss, joy, a great sense of bliss will arise. And it is from here you train your mind further to silence your mind. And this is where your mind, you keep your mind quieter, silent, silent, silent. Any thoughts that comes to you, you can see it, you can identify these thoughts, impermanent. Otherwise, you analyze this thought into the 5 aggregates. Then your mind becomes silent. And you cultivate until you develop the momentum of silence. That momentum of silence will eventually break the habit pattern of your mind to create thoughts. What is this habit pattern of your mind to create thoughts? When we see something or hear something, we attach some values to certain things that we see or hear. And after attaching certain values, we think about it again and again, again and again. So if we say that something is nice, something is beautiful, we think about it again and again, then we have good feeling. That good feeling gives rise to craving. So that is how our craving, our attachment actually develops from this mind. That thinking and rethinking mind again and again. So in order to reduce, in order to eventually overcome suffering, it is important to reduce the tendencies of grasping, the tendencies of desire. And this is how, through samatha vipassana, you'll be able to reduce and eventually overcome suffering. And so during this period of time, during this lockdown period, if you can take this opportunity to sit a bit longer, at least twice a day, morning and evening, and the best if you can do it early morning before sunrise and before sunset. And in between the day, you cultivate mindfulness of your thoughts, speech, and body action. So by cultivating mindfulness, breathing in and out during our sitting meditation, and cultivating metta, loving kindness, what happens is you develop the kind of, you'll be able to establish your mind. Your mind will be established and well on the path to enlightenment. This is the great benefit that you can get out of this lockdown period. And metta meditation, actually metta meditation can also lead to the first, second, third, and up to the 4th jhana. And then from that, you develop your vipassana systematically. And that is where you find, then you will begin to understand truly what in the Karaniya Metta Sutta, the last verse of the Karaniya Metta Sutta, Buddha said, Dittincha anupagamma silava dasanena sampanno kamesu vinaya gedam nahi jatu gabbasayam punarete. That is, ditti, we break these wrong views. Through vipassana, we break the views, all the wrong views. Dasanena sampanno, this is how we develop wisdom, insight. Kamesu vinayagedam, with mindfulness, with insight, we cut off our attachment to sensual desire. Then, nahi jatu gabbasayam punarete. So one does not come back again in a mother's womb, conceived in a mother's womb. Now, this is the great benefit of cultivating mindfulness. And metta, loving kindness. Metta mindfulness, even if you don't get that far to the highest level, cultivation of metta will naturally develop compassion. And remember, compassion is very important during this period of time, not only during the lockdown, but also after this pandemic is over, after this coronavirus crisis is over. There will be other problems. The world will not be the same again. Then that is where one needs the compassion to reach out to others, to have the kind of communal support. Community support is essential during this time to build up this community support in order to address the problems of food, problems of employment, accommodation, housing, transport, and all the needs, the basic needs in our life. So true, and this is how you see, if we cultivate mindfulness and metta in our day-to-day lives and try to make it more and more, see what happens is that we will be ready when the crisis is over. Then you will see that we can still and we will be established in the Dhamma. So this is what the message I have for you during this time. How useful it is, you can practice, yeah, and please continue with your practice. I have, I'll check and see, there are a couple of questions, and the first question is, how can we attain balance between outside stress and inner self through meditation? Actually, when you develop your mind, you have the strength of mind, then the stress outside no longer affect you. Yeah. So the thing is how to develop, how to make your mind strong. There are 5 things that we have to develop. They are called Pancha Indriya. Pancha Indriya is the faculties of the mind, the 5 mental faculties. They are Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. These 5 things, when we cultivate these 5 factors, then our mind becomes strong. Not only strong, this becomes the power. We have willpower. First is Shraddha. Shraddha is faith, confidence in the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. When you have faith and confidence, then naturally the second mental fact, Indriya, will arise. That is, you will have energy, effort. And you use that energy, effort to cultivate mindfulness. And then concentration develops. When you have concentration, wisdom will grow. So these 5 things, if you develop, you strengthen your mind, then that is how you'll be able to encounter whatever stress that is outside. But for a beginner who is not able to understand what these mental faculties are, then start with this, just to have your faith, your devotion in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. So in other words, when you encounter with some stress, because fear, worries, can condition this kind of stress factor. So when you do that, when you feel your mind getting upset and disturbed, then just think, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. In other words, your refuge. Go for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Then your mind will become strong. Yeah. But after that, you need to cultivate further. And that is how you'll be able to maintain, not only maintain balance, eventually you will have the equanimity, the equanimous mind, and you will not be disturbed by whatever things that's happening outside you. The second now is about, will meditation help in strengthening of mind during this corona crisis? I've already answered you. If you take time, if you make good use of this opportunity, remember, every time that there is a crisis, any crisis that happens in the world, there's danger and there's also opportunity. So if you make good use of this opportunity, what is this opportunity about? Because fear, worries, anxieties, stress, there. Even before the crisis takes place, even before this corona crisis, you all have fear, you all have worries. But because you have so much of other activities, you can go out, you can go for entertainment, and that's how you distract your minds. Your mind is distracted. So you cannot see, you're not able, you're not aware of that restlessness, the stress inside you. What has happened is this, that due to this crisis, especially during to this lockdown period, you begin to see that stress, you begin to see the fear and the worries in your mind. And actually, it creates a sense of urgency. And the opportunity is this, to see that there is an urgency in the cultivation of Dharma. So, what is important is this, that during this occasion of Vesak, it is, if you can, make an effort, and especially during Vesak Purnima, tomorrow, if you can, immerse yourself with the Dharma. Cultivate mindfulness, metta, morning, evening, and throughout the day, develop your mindfulness. And at the end of the day, make this offering. Offer your practice. This is what Pratipatti Puja is about. Offer your practice to the Buddha, to all the Buddhas, Buddhas of the past, present, and future. Because of this lockdown period, people are not able to visit temples and make various offerings and prayers. But remember that the real temple lies within. The real temple is within your own hearts. And that is where the relevance of cultivating metta, loving kindness, compassion, it's from your heart. That's how you visit the real temple. And regarding to offerings, of offerings, there is what you call Amisa Puja, the offerings of flowers, incense, offerings of lights, the other material offerings. They are material offerings. Then there is Pratipatti Puja. Pratipatti Puja refers to the offering of practice. So you practice Dharma throughout the day and make this offering. And after you have made this offering to the Buddha, then share these merits. Share these merits with all the Dhamma protectors and all the guardian deities. And after you have shared these merits, then you make the wish, make the aspiration. And so important during this Vesak Purnima to take this opportunity to make the firm resolution, make the firm aspiration that whatever merits that you have acquired in this life, may these merits become a support. May these merits become a cause for your enlightenment one day. And then you will cultivate the values of wisdom and compassion so that you'll be able to help others, whoever that comes by your way. So, on this occasion of Vesak, let us pray, wish you all to walk the Dhamma's path through Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Sila, your moral restraint, especially your speech and body action. Samadhi, through your concentration, mental discipline. And Panya, wisdom, through wisdom. These three things, this is the path to real peace, to real happiness. So, may the blessings of the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha be with you all, always, and we wish you all very happy Vesak. Thank you. Sa.
सुखो बुद्धाननुपादो सुखास धम्मदेशना सुखा संघस्य सामग्री समज्ञानं तपो सुखो। परम श्रद्धे हर्षदीप कांबले सर, तथा रोजना मैडम, उनके समस्त सहयोगीगण, सम्मानित बंधुओं, उपासक उपासिकाओं, श्रद्धेय हर्षदीप कांबले सर के आह्वान पर मैं फेसबुक लाइव हुआ हूँ। आप सब अवगत हैं सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रम होते थे, उनको बौद्ध समाज ने स्थगित किया है, बल्कि यह निर्णय लिया कि फेसबुक के माध्यम से, जूम के माध्यम से या अन्य जो भी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक संसाधन है उनके माध्यम से भगवान बुद्ध के जीवन पर, उनके सधम्म पर चर्चा करेंगे और उसे सोशल मीडिया के माध्यम से आम जन तक पहुंचाएंगे। तो आज हम तथागत की प्रथम उपदेश स्थली पर विराजमान है और यहाँ से सर के लिए, उनकी टीम के लिए, उनके समस्त सहयोगियों के लिए, साथ ही साथ आप सबके लिए आज छोटा सा संदेश बुद्ध पूर्णिमा के देने के लिए उपस्थित हुए हैं। बंधुओं, बौद्ध परंपरा में शाक्य मुनि गौतम बुद्ध है 28वें बुद्ध हैं। शरणांकर दीपांकर इस बुद्ध उनसे पूर्व हो चुके हैं। बुद्ध पुरुष कभी महलों में, नगरों में, ग्रामों में जन्म नहीं लेते। वह जन्म लेते हैं किसी उपवन में, किसी वृक्ष के नीचे, किसी खड़ी हुई माता के गर्भ से। इतना ही नहीं, वह सम्यक संबोधि अर्थात बुद्धत्व लाभ भी नगर में, ग्राम में, आश्रमों में, महलों में, विद्यालयों में प्राप्त नहीं करते, बल्कि वह सम्यक संबुद्ध बनते हैं, संबोधि लाभ करते हैं किसी जंगल में, किसी नदी के किनारे, किसी वृक्ष की शीतल छाया के नीचे। ऐसे ही वह अपना महापरिनिर्वाण नगर निगम से दूर, महलों से दूर, आश्रमों से दूर, विहारों से दूर, किसी जंगल में, किसी नदी के किनारे, किसी वृक्ष के नीचे ही करते हैं। समस्त बुद्धों की यही परंपरा रही है। इसलिए समस्त बुद्धों को तथागत कहा जाता है। शाक्य मुनि गौतम बुद्ध का भी जन्म लुम्बिनी के सालवन में साल वृक्ष की शाखा पकड़कर खड़ी माता महामाया से हुआ। यदि आपको शाक्य मुनि गौतम बुद्ध के ऐतिहासिक जन्म के साक्ष्य की जरूरत हो तो आप लुम्बिनी जाइए। लुम्बिनी में महाराजा अशोक द्वारा स्थापित प्रशस्त स्तंभ है। उस स्तंभ पर उस समय के व्यवहार में आने वाली मागधी भाषा में लिखा हुआ है कि यहाँ तथागत का जन्म हुआ है। इद तथागत हो जातो। शाक्य मुनि गौतम बुद्ध का, शाक्य मुनि तथा गौतम बुद्ध को उर्वेला के जंगलों में निरंजना नदी के किनारे एक पीपल वृक्ष के नीचे बुद्धत्व प्राप्ति हुई। जब तथागत वहां सम्यक संबुद्ध बने, तब से उस स्थल को बोध गया और उस पीपल के वृक्ष को बोधि वृक्ष के नाम से स्मरण किया जाने लगा। यदि आपको शाक्य मुनि गौतम बुद्ध के बुद्धत्व लाभ के ऐतिहासिक साक्ष्य की जरूरत हो तो आपको बुद्ध गया जाना चाहिए। बुद्ध गया में भी महाराजा अशोक द्वारा स्थापित महाबोधि महाविहार है और वह बोधि वृक्ष भी विद्यमान है जिसके नीचे राजकुमार सिद्धार्थ बुद्ध बने थे। जिसकी एक शाखा अशोक की पुत्री संघमित्रा श्रीलंका ले गई, जो वहां के प्राचीन नगर अनुराधापुर में रोपी गई। वह वृक्ष आज भी वहां पे है। कृतज्ञ सिंगल जाति के लोग उसे जय श्री महाबोधि के नाम से स्मरण करते हैं। लगातार 45 वर्षों तक लोक कल्याण के बाद तथागत सम्यक संबुद्ध कुशीनगर के सालवन में महापरिनिर्वाण को प्राप्त हुए। यदि आपको शाक्य मुनि गौतम बुद्ध के महापरिनिर्वाण की ऐतिहासिक सत्यता की जरूरत हो तो आपको कुशीनगर जाना चाहिए। कुशीनगर में भी महाराजा अशोक द्वारा स्थापित महापरिनिर्वाण स्तूप है, जिसके खुदाई से तथागत की पवित्र अस्थियां प्राप्त हुई थी, और उस अस्थि कलश पे लिखा है, यहां तथागत का महापरिनिर्वाण हुआ है। और वहां महापरिनिर्वाण तथागत है, जिसके दर्शन के लिए प्रतिवर्ष लाखों लोग आते हैं। सुखो बुद्धानं उपादो, बुद्ध का उत्पन्न होना, बुद्ध का जन्म लेना संसार के लिए सुखदायी होता है। प्रश्न है, बुद्ध कहते किसे हैं? यदि कभी आप लोगों से कोई पूछे बुद्ध किसे कहते हैं, तो आप उसे संक्षेप में उत्तर दे सकते हैं। बुद्ध कहते हैं उस व्यक्ति को जिसने दानशील आदि सभी पारमिताओं की पूर्ति की हो। अथवा बुद्ध कहते हैं उस महामानव को जिसने स्वयं के प्रयास से बुद्धत्व लाभ किया हो, आर्य सत्यों को खोजा हो। कहा गया है, सुखा सधम्म देशना, अर्थात सधर्म की देशना संसार के लिए सुखदायी होती है। प्रश्न है, सधम्म किसे कहते हैं? सधम्म को जानने के पहले धर्म किसे कहते हैं जानना आवश्यक है। यदि आपसे कोई पूछे धम्म किसे कहते हैं, तो आप उसे इस प्रकार उत्तर दे सकते हैं। बौद्ध परंपरा में कहा जाता है, बौद्ध साहित्य में कहा जाता है, काया की पवित्रता, वाणी की पवित्रता तथा मन की पवित्रता बनाए रखना धर्म है। एक धर्म सधम्म कब होता है? एक धर्म अच्छा धर्म कब होता है? एक धर्म लोक कल्याणकारी जन कल्याणकारी कब होता है? उसे डॉक्टर बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर ने भगवान बुद्ध उनके धर्म में बहुत अच्छे से समझाया है। बाबा साहब ने सधम्म के बड़ी अच्छी व्याख्या करी है। बाबा साहब कहते हैं, धर्म तभी सधर्म होता है जब वह मैत्री की वृद्धि करे। धर्म तभी सधर्म होता है जब वह करुणा की वृद्धि करे। धर्म तभी सधर्म होता है जब वह मुदिता की वृद्धि करे, और धर्म तभी सधर्म होता है जब वह प्रज्ञा की वृद्धि करे, और धर्म तब सधर्म होता है जब वह यह शिक्षा दे कि करुणा से अधिक मैत्री की आवश्यकता है। धर्म तब सधर्म होता है जब वह यह भी शिक्षा दे कि ज्ञान से अधिक शील की आवश्यकता है, और धर्म तब सधर्म होता है जब वह शिक्षा दे कि ज्ञानशील से अधिक करुणा की आवश्यकता है, मैत्री की आवश्यकता है। और धर्म तब सधर्म होता है जब वह एक आदमी और दूसरे आदमी के बीच तमाम दीवारों को गिरा दे। धर्म तब सधर्म होता है जब वह शिक्षा दे कि व्यक्ति का मूल्यांकन उसके जन्म से नहीं बल्कि उसके कर्मों से होनी चाहिए। कहा गया कि सुखा संघर्ष सामग्री, अर्थात संघ का समग्र भाव, संघ की एकता संसार के लिए सुखदायक होती है। प्रश्न है, संघ किसे कहते हैं? यदि आपसे भी कोई पूछे संघ किसे कहते हैं, तो आप चाहे उसे इस प्रकार उत्तर दे सकते हैं, संघ कहते हैं उन श्रेष्ठ जनों के समूह को जिनके 10 संयोजन अर्थात चित्त के मल समाप्त हो गए हो। ऐसे सुजनों को, ऐसे पूज्य जनों को, ऐसे महानुभावों को अरहंत कहते हैं। वह किसी भी देश के हो सकते हैं, किसी भी वर्ग के हो सकते हैं, किसी भी आयु के हो सकते हैं, भूत में हुए हैं, वर्तमान में है और भविष्य में भी होते रहेंगे, क्योंकि भगवान बुद्ध का वचन है, असुइयों लोके अरहंत ही, अर्थात ये धरती कभी अरहतों से खाली नहीं होती। तथागत को सम्मिलित कर जब इस देश में अरहंतों की संख्या 61 हो गई, तब तथागत इसी सारनाथ की धरती से भिक्खुओं को संबोधित किया। चरत भिक्खवे चारिकं बहुजन हिताय बहुजन सुखाय लोकानुकंपाय इत्यादि। अर्थात हे भिक्खुओं, बहुतों के हित के लिए, बहुतों के सुख के लिए, लोक पर अनुकंपा करने के लिए विचरण करो। संसार में बहुत सारे ऐसे प्राणी हैं जिनकी आंखों पर बहुत धूल नहीं चढ़ी है, उन तक पवित्र जीवन का संदेश पहुंचाओ। वह सधम्म को समझेंगे, धारण करेंगे। जब तथागत ने इस प्रकार प्रेम भरा अनुशासन अपने भिक्षुओं से किया, उस आज्ञा का अक्षर से पालन करने के लिए तथागत के भिक्षुओं ने, तथागत के भिक्षुनियों ने अपना सर्वत्व त्याग करके लोक कल्याण में लगे रहे। वह दिन रात इसी चिंतन में डूबे रहे कि बहुतों का हित कैसे हो, बहुतों का सुख कैसे हो। सधम्म का प्रचार प्रसार करने के लिए, लोगों तक सधम्म पहुंचाने के लिए उन्होंने जल स्थल की यात्राएं की, बर्फीले पर्वतों और रेगिस्तानों को पार किया। हालांकि ऐसा करते समय बहुतों को अपने प्राणों की आहुति देनी पड़ी है, महावस्तु नामक धर्म ग्रंथ बताता है, जब इस देश के व्यापारी दूसरे देशों में व्यापार के लिए जाते थे तो बहुत सारे भिक्षु उनसे जाकर के आग्रह करते थे। वह उनसे कहते थे कि जब तक आप अपना वहां सामान बेचेंगे और लाने के लिए सामान खरीदेंगे तब तक हम वहां सदम का प्रचार प्रसार करेंगे। इस प्रकार बहुत सारे भिक्षु व्यापारियों के साथ चल जाया करते थे। कभी कभी वह व्यापारी समुद्र मार्ग से जाते थे। समुद्र मार्ग से जाकर के वह कई बार विपत्तियों में पड़ते थे। समुद्र के जीव जंतु या समुद्री तूफान के कारण नाव क्षतिग्रस्त हो जाते थे। कई बार नावों के डूबने का खतरा बढ़ाने लगता था। ऐसी विषम परिस्थिति में वह व्यापारी गण नाव सामानों को न फेंक करके भिक्षुओं को फेंक दिया करते थे। जो वह भिक्षु उन जनजीवों का आहार बन जाया करते थे। ऐसी विषम परिस्थितियों को झेल करके भी भिक्षु सदम के प्रचार प्रसार के लिए कभी विमुख नहीं होते थे। ऐसी एक नहीं हजारों घटनाएं पाली साहित्य में पढ़ने को मिलती है, बौद्ध साहित्य में पढ़ने को मिलती है। बल्कि ऐसा कहा जा सकता है कि सदम के प्रचार प्रसार या सदम को मानने वालों में बड़ा उत्साह होता है। यह सदम जिन जिन देशों में गया, जिन जिन क्षेत्रों में गया, जिन जिन वर्गों में गया, इसका कारण कोई राजकीय प्रभाव नहीं है, बल्कि हमारे भिक्षुओं का, हमारे बौद्ध राजाओं का, बौद्ध उपासक उपासिकाओं का आध्यात्मिक जीवन तथा उनका श्रेष्ठ प्रचार प्रसार पद्धति ही है। एक घटना मुझे बहुत प्रभावित करती है। एक बार भगवान बुद्ध श्रावस्ती में थे। उसी समय सोना प्रांत से व्यापारियों का बहुत बड़ा समूह कौशल होते हुए मगध जा रहा था। सोना प्रांत वर्तमान में मुंबई में पड़ता है। शाम के समय श्रावस्ती की जनता श्वेत वस्त्र धारण करके, हाथों में पुष्प गंध लेकर के जहां भगवान विराजमान थे जेतवन में, वहां जा रहे थे। उन व्यापारियों ने, विशेष रूप से उस व्यापारी समूह का प्रमुख पूर्ण ने वहां की जनता से पूछा कि आप लोग कहां जा रहे हैं। उन लोगों ने बताया कि तथागत सम्यक संबुद्ध है के दर्शनार्थ जा रहे हैं, उनकी देशना सुनने जा रहे हैं। पूर्ण भी उनके पीछे पीछे हो लिए। चेतवन पहुंचे, उन्होंने भगवान का देशना सुना, उनका दर्शन किया। देशना समाप्त होने के बाद पूर्ण के मन में वैराग्य भाव उत्पन्न हुआ। पूर्ण तथागत के पास पहुंचे। उन्होंने तथागत से कहा कि भगवान मुझे प्रवज्जा मिले, मुझे उपसंपदा मिले। भगवान ने पूर्ण से पूछा कि पूर्ण ये बताओ, तुम्हारे पास और भी कोई है क्या? तुम्हारे परिवार में और भी कोई है क्या? पूर्ण कहते हाँ भगवान मेरा छोटा भाई है। भगवान कहते उनसे अनुमति लेकर के आओ। पूर्ण अपने भाई के पास जाते हैं, कहते हैं भाई मेरी जितनी अचल संपत्ति है, अचल संपत्ति आज के बाद तुम्हारी हुई। उनका छोटा भाई पूछता है कि आप क्या करेंगे, आप कहाँ जाएंगे? पूर्ण कहते हैं कि मैं भिक्षु बनूंगा। उनका भाई रोने लगता है। वो कहता नहीं आप ऐसा मत करें। पूर्ण नहीं मानते हैं, अपनी सारी संपत्ति छोड़ करके भगवान बुद्ध के पास आकर के प्रवज्ञा ले लेते हैं। कुछ एक दिन पूर्ण भगवान के पास जाते हैं और भगवान से कहते भगवान मैं सोना प्रांत जाना चाहता हूं। भगवान कहते हैं कि पूर्ण तुम सोना प्रांत मत जाओ। पूर्ण कहते भगवान जाना चाहता हूं। भगवान कहते नहीं पूर्ण मेरी बात मान, सोना प्रांत मत जा। पूर्ण कहते हैं नहीं भगवान जाना चाहता हूं। भगवान कहते ठीक है पूर्ण, यदि तुम सोना प्रांत जाना ही चाहते हो तो मेरे कुछ प्रश्न हैं, उनका उत्तर दो। पूर्ण कहते भगवान आप प्रश्न करें। भगवान पहला प्रश्न पूर्ण से पूछते हैं, कहते पूर्ण ये बताओ यदि सोना प्रांत के लोग तुझे गालियां देने लगे, तुझे अपमानित करने लगे, तुम्हें अपशब्द बोलने लगे, तो तुम्हारे मन में कैसा भाव जगेगा? पूर्ण कहते भगवान सोना प्रांत के लोग बहुत चंट हैं, बहुत कड़े स्वभाव के हैं। जब वो लोग मुझे गालियां देंगे, मुझे अपमानित करेंगे, मुझे अपशब्द बोलेंगे तो मैं प्रसन्न होऊंगा। उस समय मैं सोचूंगा कि ये लोग तो बहुत दुष्ट हैं, चलो केवल आज भला बुरा कह करके, गाली गलौज करके, अपमानित करके छोड़ दिया। ये लोग तो इतने बुरे थे, मार पीट सकते थे। भगवान बुद्ध कहते हैं कि पूर्ण मेरा दूसरा प्रश्न है, यदि सोना प्रांत के लोग तुझे मारने लगे, तेरा हाथ पैर तोड़ने लगे, उस समय तेरे मन में क्या भाव जगेगा? पूर्ण कहते भगवान प्रसन्न होऊंगा, बल्कि ये सोचूंगा कि चलो ये लोग तो बहुत दुष्ट लोग हैं, हाथ पैर तोड़ करके ही छोड़ा है। ये लोग इतने दुष्ट हैं कि ये लोग मुझे प्राणों से भी मार सकते थे। भगवान कहते ठीक है पूर्ण मेरा अंतिम सवाल, यदि वह लोग तुझे प्राणों से मारने लगे और तुझे लगे कि अब तेरा प्राण नहीं बचने वाला है, तब तेरे मन। पूर्ण कहते भगवान बड़ा प्रसन्न होऊंगा, इन सुना प्रांत के लोगों को धन्यवाद दूंगा कि इन्होंने इस जीवन से मुझे मुक्त कर दिया। हो सकता है कि जीवन रहते कुछ अकुशल कर्म हो जाए, अब ऐसे अकुशल कर्म नहीं होंगे। ऐसे न जाने कितने उदाहरण पाली साहित्य में, बौद्ध साहित्य में पढ़ने को मिलते हैं। जब भिक्षुओं ने अपना सा करके बहुजन हिताय बहुजन सुखाय के लिए कार्य किया है। यही कारण है कि तथागत का सधम्म पूरे संसार में फैला। आज भी तथागत का सधम्म संसार के कई देशों में व्याप्त है। यदि हम संख्या की दृष्टि से देखें तो तथागत के अनुयायी संसार में पहले स्थान पर है। अभी 7 तारीख को वैशाखी पूर्णिमा आ रही है। मैंने पहले भी बताया, ये वैशाखी पूर्णिमा हमारे लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, क्योंकि इसी वैशाखी पूर्णिमा को तथागत का जन्म होता है। इसी वैशाखी पूर्णिमा को तथागत सम्यक संबोधि की प्राप्ति करते हैं और इसी वैशाखी पूर्णिमा को तथागत महापरिनिर्वाण प्राप्त करते हैं। तथागत संसार के पहले महामानव हैं जिनके जीवन की 3 महत्वपूर्ण घटनाएं एक ही दिन घटित हुई हैं। इसलिए इस समस्त संसार के लिए, संसार की समस्त मानवता के लिए ये बहुत पवित्र दिन है, बहुत महत्वपूर्ण दिन है। तो आइए हम संकल्प लें कि इस वैशाख पूर्णिमा को हम लोक कल्याणकारी पर्व के रूप में मनाएंगे। इसके लिए हमें चाहिए, चूंकि देश लॉकडाउन के में चल रहा है, लॉकडाउन की अवधि काफी लंबी हो चुकी है। इस देश के जो मध्यम वर्गीय लोग हैं, संसाधन विहीन लोग हैं, उनका जीवन बहुत मुश्किल से बीत रहा है, वो संकट में है। बहुत सारी हमें ऐसी घटनाएं भी सुनने पढ़ने को देखने को मिल रही कि लोगों के पास भोजन नहीं है, बहुत सारे प्राण जान चले गए हैं भोजन के अभाव में। तो हम तथागत का अनुयायी हैं। तथागत का जो सदम है, करुणा मैत्री का सदम है, डॉक्टर बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर ने उसके ऊपर मैंने चर्चा की, बहुत अच्छे से कहा है, समझाया है कि सदम तभी सदम होता है जब हम करुणा की वृद्धि करें, जब हम मैत्री की वृद्धि करें। तो आज जो पीड़ित मानवता है उसके बारे में हमें सोचना चाहिए, यथासंभव उनकी मदद करना चाहिए, उनके भोजन का प्रबंध करना चाहिए, उनके लिए दवा का प्रबंध करना चाहिए। और जो हमारे बुद्ध विहार हैं उन्हें सजाना चाहिए, उन्हें उनकी सफाई करनी चाहिए। वैशाख पूर्णिमा के दिन बौद्ध परंपरा में उपोषित रहने की परंपरा है। जो बौद्ध लोग हैं, जो भिक्षु लोग हैं, जो भिक्षुनियां हैं, 12 बजे के पूर्व भोजन करें और 12 बजे के बाद जब तक अगले दिन का सूरज न देख लें भोजन नहीं करना है। यदि बहुत भूख लगे तो जूस पी सकते हैं, काली चाय पी सकते हैं, लेकिन दूध नहीं ले सकते हैं। केवल व्रत भूखा नहीं रहना है, बल्कि 8 चीजें नहीं करनी है। मन वचन कर्म से प्राणी हत्या नहीं करनी है, बल्कि मैत्री का अभ्यास करना है। चाहे कोई भी वस्तु हो, उसे बगैर पूछे, बगैर किसी की अनुमति से नहीं उठानी है, नहीं छूनी है, बल्कि प्रयास करना है कि जिस व्यक्ति ने जितना परिश्रम किया है उसके परिश्रम का उसे हक मिलना चाहिए। और उस दिन पूरी तरीके से ब्रह्मचर्य का पालन करना है। झूठ नहीं, चुगली नहीं, बेमतलब की बातें नहीं, कटु वचन नहीं बोलना है, मादक पदार्थों का सेवन नहीं करना है, 12 बजे के बाद भोजन नहीं करना है, ऊंचे आसन, मखमली आसन, जो बहुत आराम वाले आसन है, उस पे नहीं, उस पे शयन नहीं करना, उस पे सोना नहीं है। जो मनोरंजन के साधन है उनसे दूर रहना है। अपने आप को बहुत ज्यादा सजाना संवारना नहीं है। ये 8 बातें उपोषण के अंतर्गत आती हैं, इनका अभ्यास करना है। ऐसा कहा जाता है कि जो लोग उपोषण का अभ्यास करते हैं, उपोषण व्रत रखते हैं, उनकी मनोकामनाएं ऐसे ही पूर्ण होती हैं जैसे पूर्णिमा का चांद पूरा होता है। वैशाख पूर्णिमा को सुबह है जगने के बाद तीसरा बंसी लेना है, त्रिरत्न वंदना करना चाहिए। यदि सूत्र याद हैं तो उनको बोलना चाहिए, उनका अनुवाद पढ़ना चाहिए और सपरिवार एक साथ बैठे, सपरिवार एक साथ भोजन करें। अच्छे व्यंजनों को बनाना चाहिए, अच्छे पकवान बनाना चाहिए। बुद्ध पूर्णिमा का जो संदेश है वह लोगों को फेसबुक के माध्यम से, व्हाट्सएप के माध्यम से, जो सोशल माध्यम है उनके माध्यम से लोगों को देना चाहिए। लोगों को बौद्ध साहित्य उपहार में देना चाहिए। तो कुछ बौद्ध होने की वजह से हमारे कर्तव्य हैं। मैं आप सबको इस फेसबुक के माध्यम से अपील कर रहा हूँ। पुनः चूँकि आज बनारस में बहुत हर जगह आंधी तूफान आ रहा है और अभी भी अंधेरा है, तो मैं अपनी बातों को और आगे न बढ़ाते हुए मैं पुनः डॉक्टर हर्षदीप कांबले सर, औद्योगिक आयुक्त मुंबई, मैडम रोजाना, उनके समस्त सहयोगियों को और जो भी हमें फेसबुक के माध्यम से सुन रहे हैं, आप सभी लोगों के प्रति मैं मंगल कामना ज्ञापित करता हूँ। वैशाख पूर्णिमा की, बुद्ध पूर्णिमा की ढेर सारी मंगल कामनाएं करता हूँ। भवतु सब मंगलम। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।